again, if you don't watch the film, by the way, I've got no respect for you if you don't watch this movie.
No,
so just watch this movie, right? Like, this is one you have to watch the movie to really appreciate why we love this movie.
We are concluding our psychedelic horror arc on Foreplay today with the very psychedelic horror film Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage. And I feel like, just like with Enter the Void, we do have to give the normie warning on this one, which is that you may be able to stomach Jacob's Ladder and Altered States, because at the end of the day, they have psychedelic sequences, but they're still mostly normal movies. And you know when the psychedelic effects are coming. Enter the Void and Mandy are just all psychedelic, and there's no escaping from it. That's the entire film is just going to be like this. And they are going to be, in Mandy's case, extremely violent, possibly very disturbing.
There's no happy ending coming to redeem you or anything. This is just some full, like, staring into the abyss.
Descent into madness. Now, is it also metal as fuck?
It's metal as fuck. Homie.
Yes, it is. Is it the most heavy metal movie of all time? Maybe.
By the way, I'll even say that's actually an aspect of this film I think people miss, is that there's so much going on in the film. It's so intense. It's got so many memorable scenes. But one thing I think people miss is this. I love that this particular director, Panos Cosmatos or whatever, seems to have some strange affection for the 70s, it appears, right? Because so many of the like aesthetic elements he does in this film and his work seems to tie into that era, the type of music. It's King Crimson, people don't know, that opens the film. The way the colour palettes are very like filter-esque of like a 70s film. But one aspect people will miss about this film that I think ties it together in that sense is this film is not only alluding to things like hippies and cults and things that were like the dark side.
The Manson
family.
The
60s was like the light side, and then the 70s was like the dark bad trip of the Americana, right? And along those lines, one of the elements that I do see Monty as not like disparate is these biker demon elements and there's like weird allusions to the heart of Abraxas. That is like straight out of 70s D&D, boys. Like if you, I guarantee this guy, I think of his age, he seems perfectly within that class where it's like a generation before us. It's all like kids who grew up in the 70s.
Yeah,
like,
he's 51. Yeah,
like, put it this way, essentially, I'll put it, here's my way. Are you ready, Monty? This is masterful here. Here's how I'm going to hook the normies, even though I'm actually hooking them on some fucking, you're about to open the ninth configuration or whatever. I'm actually going to get you with the Hellraiser box here. But if you guys enjoy Stranger Things, you're going to love, man.
Yes.
No, of course. This is going to be the hellscape, nightmare, bad trip of Stranger Things. But
I was going to mention that too.
It's got similar aesthetics.
It's like if you like Stranger Things, but you wish it was way more metal, this is the movie for you.
Because by the way, that is
it has the vibe, but it takes it to the extreme.
As much as I also do enjoy, like I think actually even the way this film is made is genius. I think this guy's visual style is incredible. Like I say, his color palettes are amazing. By the way, almost every major scene has a different color palette, green or yellows, or like obviously the harsh reds of the fire scene and stuff, and the revenge. But one of the things I actually think is so cool is like actually the thing I think this movie nails, boys, is it never attempts to give you stupid exposition. There is no explanation, Monty, for what is the Horn of Abraxas? Why does Slipknot turn up as bikers that are demons that drink some sort of psychedelic? There's the thing, Monty, the answers would only make it worse. The mystique is why I fucking 100%. Vibe with so hard. Like when he brings out the tainted blade of the pale knight from the abyssal. That's all I need, homie. And by the way, that actor who keeps saying all that shit, it's fucking smurfing that like brother whatever. He's fucking killing it. So yeah, let's get into it.
Thorin recommended me this movie years ago, and I
by the way,
it.
This movie is the original Foreplay because Richard recommended it to me when I visited him in Vegas. Then a year later, like the Human Centipede of movies, I passed it along to Monty. Eventually, he watched it. Now apparently even his wife's watched it, and now you will watch it. So go and watch it. There you go.
It is great.
This is
guys.
the original Foreplay.
It really is a really good movie. And I don't think it's a flawed gem. It's just like really well done.
It's a gem.
It's just a gem. It's just really good.
Yeah. And I'm actually heartbroken. I'll never know what Roger Ebert thought of this film.
Listen, I know. That's going to be the weakest episode and the best episode because we all adore this film and I think everyone watching will adore it as well. But yes, we'll can't have Roger Ebert's shit opinion about this film isn't going to be at the end of the episode.
There are a couple items I want to get out of the way first. So our last episode of this arc, that means we're announcing the new arc. And in the spirit of our Gene Hackman into sports arc, we are going to psychedelic horror into Nicolas Cage arc. We've done a bunch of Nicolas Cage
describing
films.
his career, funnily enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It is mad that secretly Foreplay is just half Nicolas Cage films.
Yeah, it is. We've done a lot of Nicolas Cage movies so far, and we're going to continue to do them. And we're going to. Isn't it nice of us that in some ways you get 5 movies? We gave you 5 Gene Hackman movies, and we're going to give you 5 Nicolas Cage
I also
movies.
just love the idea, Monty, because it's that like little detail. You know, like in Islamic art, there has to be one error to show that humans are mortal. You know, only God is perfect. Similarly, we present as insane elitist movie snobs, and then we're just making everyone watch all of Nicolas Cage's filmography. Like, that's just so jarring in some ways.
Hey, he's great. We all love Nicolas Cage. Everybody loves Nicolas Cage. He's great in this movie and in Mandy. And so the Nicolas Cage arc, remember, we've already done multiple Nicolas Cage movies. So if you want to see things like Con Air, for example, you guys can just go back and watch that because we've already done it. What other Nicolas Cage movies?
Face Off.
Face Off, yeah. Probably some more we're forgetting right now. But in the spirit of Nicolas Cage, we will be starting with
Wild Heart.
Wild Heart. That's right. There you go. We're getting them in there. So we've already done actually a full Nicolas Cage arc. It turns out we've already done at least 4, with Mandy included, and now we'll do 4 more. So in the spirit of Nicolas Cage, we got to take a campy movie right off the top. Some of you might say National Treasure. No, it's The Rock. We're doing The Rock, which I watched recently again and thoroughly enjoyed, and I'll watch it again before our next episode. Number 2 will be Leaving Las Vegas, for which you won an Academy Award. Number 3 will be 8mm, and number 4 will be Adaptation. So we're basically starting with the most normie friendly, and we're slowly sliding into Charlie Kaufman by the end. So enjoy that.
And we promise we will try not to reference the Epstein files more than once in the 8mm episode. We're going to try and stick to that.
It won't happen.
No promises. No promises.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of different movies we discussed here. His filmography is extensive. I'm sure we'll get to some of these, but we did, before you guys are like, why didn't you do this one? We did talk about some of the other films we would have loved to include in here. We could do maybe in a second Nicolas Cage arc later on, or shoehorn into some other arcs, or things like Lord of War, Raising Arizona, Snake Eyes, National Treasure, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Pig. We could have even done Color Out of Space if we were feeling Lovecraftian. Because that missed, what's funny is our first arc was Cosmic Horror. I really like that
film as well.
Yeah, our first arc was Cosmic Horror, and it was a contender for that arc as well, and now
I did try to crowbar this film into that arc. We just went with something else at the time.
That's true. We keep trying to get the Color Out of Space like jammed in there, but we haven't done it yet. So anyway, we'll start here with Mandy, and we do have to talk about Nicolas Cage's career because it is impactful as to why he did Mandy. Because you look at this and you think, why is Nicolas Cage even in this movie in the first place? And the answer is that basically in the 5-year time period between 2017 and 2022, Nicolas Cage was in deep shit financially. And he had a lot of problems. He bought a ton of property that he couldn't afford. He bought comic books. He owned like Superman #1. He owned Dinosaur
He did all
Bones.
the shit you wish you said you'd do as a kid when you got money and you were an adult. He actually did it though. The rest of us grew up and matured and went, what would be the point in buying a load of candy, Monty? He was like, buy a mountain of candy.
Buy the rarest candy.
And like you say, I want to literally read Action Comics, whatever. Like #1. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I do love it. It's some big shit, some tongue amps.
Yeah.
Shit,
so he basically.
I already told. Sorry, Monty. I already told this story, but just for again people that haven't watched every episode, I think we brought up Ghost Rider in some episode. For Ghost Rider, he bought Egyptian artifacts, which he then smashed with a hammer and sewed into the leather jacket of Ghost Rider for the set because he thought it would imbue him with some sort of appreciation.
Which, by the way, in some ways is the genius of Nicolas Cage. Because here's the thing: I'll never go too far the other way. A lot of people think he's a hack, right? No, but he also doesn't actually know which movies are the amazing ones and which ones are shit. Because as you say, Richard, The Ghost Rider's the one you phone in, but he's doing it like some Daniel Day-Lewis shit, like I will inhabit the character. Which, by the way, in his best movies, like this film, for example, we're going to do today, is awesome. When he leans into it, and it is what makes Nick Cage very lovable. He just goes hard every time.
This is a guy who spent years studying kabuki theatre. He's not, you're not a Japanese kabuki actor, but occasionally he says he likes to draw from kabuki, which is why he does the big...
And to be clear, for those of you who don't know what kabuki is a form of Japanese theater where you are wearing full face paint, and it's the second form of traditional theater. It's the more, I would say, vulgar form behind no theater. Unfortunately, guys, I actually did study theater history, so you have to listen to me about this. But
this is all good to know with Nicolas
I've
Cage.
actually performed in kabuki plays also as an actor.
I totally believe that as well. Of course you have. Right?
Well, enough about your time at Riot.
Yeah. It's mad because like Duncan and I, as kids, would have hated you.
Yeah, no, you have to understand. Monty would literally at school, Richard, have just been the kid who was in sixth form who listened to Morrissey and Radiohead and a bunch of art rock bands, and we would have just hated his guts. Yeah, of course.
I remember I had a friend, like not a good friend at school, because this is just how vicious school could be. It was a friend of mine called Chris, and we were coming up, and we hit a certain age where you start getting your interests indulged, and you go one way, you study this, you do that, you do this extracurricular, and he went into ballet. He just got mercilessly...
Billy Elliot, some shit. Okay,
yeah, he just got mercilessly bullied by everyone.
Not really the time 80s in England.
By the way, we're about 12 years away from Billy Elliot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he got wrecked to the point where I was like, I just kind of saw something.
Listen, speaking of my favourite quote from Blade ever, some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. I come from a regional mining town. In the 80s, I reckon I was getting a ballet or something. Oh, lads, do you accept me? Merman, Dad, merman. Like,
the thing is as well, obviously, like people used to go out with school bag and pull his tights out and shit. Like, it was a nightmare. So I had to disassociate. I was already getting bullied. I didn't have a dad living in the house. I was getting mad.
And you have to realise, Richard,
I couldn't stand
we were
for him,
at least playing like ego shooters, Quake, CS, Monty's over there in Warcraft 3 with all his
I was at RTS.
Oh my god, look, he got extra worker.
Playing,
like, you make me sick.
Playing some fucking... He comes in, he's playing the geisha, because that's like what they used to do in Kabuki as well, where it was the men would play...
No, that's no. Sorry, Richard. That's no.
They did do that. No. I've read a book about it. They did do that. Men play women.
Mate, that's no theater is the one where the men play the women. Right. The thing about...
Sorry, my bad.
The women play women in Kabuki, which is why they were whores, which is why you see all those like Japanese woodcut, like the wood block prints of the sexually explicit Kabuki actresses, because they were also whores. Anyway.
Right, okay.
So Kabuki is interesting, though, because...
Sorry, I mixed up my no and my Kabuki.
I know, shameful.
Actually, my bad.
Always say no to Kabuki, though, as I do.
So you wear...
What about Bukkake theatre?
Now, that's a lot more interesting. The masks in that, much more sort of nuanced.
That actually did have to do with Kabuki and the way I just described. Jesus, but anyway...
Christ, oh my...
We're off to
a good start on this episode.
So anyway, Kabuki, you wear face paint, and your face paint reflects kind of the kind of character that you are, and you strike. So Kabuki, this is relevant to Nicolas Cage because you will understand his facial expressions. So you are supposed to make kind of really exaggerated facial expressions, like.
Right.
If you're a samurai or whatever.
Which is his whole career, basically.
And you like strike a pose. So like there are certain characters that have certain poses that they do when they like enter the stage, and you make the, this kind of facial expression. It's extremely stylized is my point. And it really does explain why Nicolas Cage makes the facial expressions he does, including in this movie. So to continue...
Yes. It's all over Kurosawa's films, obviously, because Kurosawa, revered that form of art.
Yes. Yeah, it's
that's where I know it from, essentially.
It's Kabuki, not no. Anyway, this is a pun. Anyway.
Funny joke. Good one. Nice one.
Anyway, when we talk about Nicolas Cage, so this time period, 2018, when Mandy comes out, he's in deep shit. So the IRS is up his ass because he's not paying taxes.
I have a summary of his debt, by the way.
Give it to us a second. He has had like 1 million wives, and so God knows his whatever alimony payments he's paying.
And 1 million divorces,
and that's what I'm saying, 1 million divorces.
It's not that he has a harem of 1 million women, unfortunately for him.
I mean, maybe he does, but he also has divorces. Who knows about the other part? But he has all these properties that he's trying to sell. The government's trying to get millions of dollars of taxes from him. And so what ends up happening is in this 5-year period from 2017 to 2022, he has to just work. And some years he's making like 6 movies a year. And these movies are not high budget films, by the way. I'm sure he got paid decently, but certainly not his previous rate in order to do this. So he's just churning through them. And as a result, we end up with some actually good movies, like we said, Pig, Mandy, Color Out of Space, in this time period where he just can't afford to be choosy. And most of them, not good. Some of them accidentally end up being like interesting in indie or art house films that are really elevated by his presence, like Mandy, which is cool that he was doing these.
So here's the scale of what bullshit he was on. So at the turn of the century, his net worth was above 150, maybe even $200 million, depending on which sources you look at, right? So he's one of the wealthiest actors out there. And so he decided he was just going to go on a lavish buying spree of essentially luxury properties because he always thought they would only appreciate in value, not depreciate. He had a total of 15 homes. He bought castles in Germany and England. He bought multiple islands in the Bahamas. He had a mansion in New Orleans, Rhode Island, and California. He owned a total of 22 cars, 9 of which were Rolls Royces. Untold amounts spent on jewelry. He had original artwork from like Renaissance painters bought in his house. He bought a dinosaur skull. He bought shrunken pygmy heads from this tribe that no longer existed, and loads of first edition rare comic books. Now, where it goes,
based Nicolas Cage.
Exactly.
That sounds dope as fuck. I can't lie. That sounds sick. Because the joke there would be, and then he wasted all the rest of the money, Richard, as the old joke goes.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I love it. I love it. I fucking love it.
So then what happened was, what his undoing was, because he'd spent all of that money and it was fine, he continued to buy in real estate as a side gig, essentially, to his acting. But then he got completely fucked in the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis.
He also owned the most haunted house in New Orleans. I'm just gonna put that one out there.
Yeah, I think that was the mansion that he bought. It was the most haunted mansion. It was an old plantation or something. It was like so. And anyway, so loads of his properties got foreclosed because he couldn't maintain the payments. And then, of course, he's been doing the old tax dodge the entire time. So he had a business manager called Samuel Levin who believed he was being really slick with his tax how he was doing his tax. And so ultimately, it turned out he hadn't been paying taxes on loads of stuff, these properties, all of this. And the IRS found out. And by the way, it was so bad. Levin got sued by Cage. Cage sued him for $20 million, saying that he had given him bad advice, risky investments, by the way, all things Cage wanted, and also said he defrauded him with the tax stuff. And Levin always said that, like, basically, it's just Nick Cage wanting to spend everything. So anyway, that totally fucked him because the IRS debt total was $14 million. And half of that was like unpaid taxes to the IRS, which obviously accrue interest. He was very lucky to not go to prison for it. He also they did like a lien on his back taxes because they went through all of his finances and they found that he owed more and more and more. So ultimately, all of a sudden, he found himself by 2010. He had all of this debt that he had to accrue, plus he'd had a bunch of businesses go bust and a bunch of properties that weren't worth any money whatsoever.
I imagine you also make a lot less money making films. He comes from the glory days, mate, of the 90s and 2000s. You could get crazy back then. You don't get that much in movies nowadays anyway.
Also as well, I mean, was considered a bit of a fading star by this point, even as late as 2010. Yeah, he'd done some action movies in the 2000 to 2010 period, but ultimately a lot of them flopped. National Treasure, we all might have a soft spot for it, but it didn't do well. And he was becoming a bit of a joke ultimately, which is why he then all of a sudden had to start saying yes to more movies, but also would occasionally stumble into an interesting film that was critically acclaimed.
I mean, now, by the way, $350 million against $100 million budget, so it's pretty good.
it made money. It made money, but go read the reviews.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it got greenlit for a sequel. I mean, it is a franchise technically, but whatever. Anyway, the good news is it does have sort of a happy ending because his estimated net worth now, as of 2025, is 40 million, which is up from 25 million in 2017. He is making money again. He is trending up again. Nick Cage is so back, and I'm going to attribute all of that success to Mandy. Now we do the film.
So yes, anyway, this is all to say, like, there were a lot of Nick Cage movies surrounding Mandy.
Yes.
And not many of them are good. This one is great. And because of the Nicolas Cage saturation, where it's like, this is the 6th Nick Cage movie this year, you may have been desensitized to Nick Cage being in movies. And especially because this one is so very, very, very strange that most people would probably just immediately bounce off this one. You will know whether you are going to like this movie in the first 10 minutes. Let's just put it that way, because you're either going to vibe with the cinematography, the composer, the music, the aesthetic, everything about it. It draws extremely heavily, like we've said, from heavy metal art. In particular, the logograms, the writing that they have in the title cards for the different parts of the movie, the coloration.
Even the title cards are stylish as fuck. There's so much style oozing out of this film.
The coloration of the scenes, the references. I mean, they make sure you know it is King Crimson when this film starts. And if many of you may not know who King Crimson is, King Crimson is a 70s prog rock band that is
fucking
niche.
rule.
They do fucking rule.
They fucking rule.
If you know prog rock, they basically are the one of the grandfathers of the entire prog rock movement. And
I'm not even a prog rock fan, but I've always loved
I'm not
King Crimson.
really a prog rock fan. I like King Crimson and like Porcupine Tree and some Dream Theater and Opeth, but
by the way, in case people wonder, on my side channel, I actually have a tier list of King Crimson albums because, of course, I do. This is right up my alley.
But I mean, like prog rock, which is highly experimental, it includes 10-minute guitar
concept
solos,
album shit, exactly,
concept albums, 30-minute long songs. It is weird, right? And it uses a lot of different electronic guitar effects. Like it is highly experimental. It's highly psychedelic, in fact, a lot of the time. So, to open up with that is a very deliberate choice. They make numerous.
I love the font as well. I love the font.
Oh my God. I mean, it's so great. But the like Richard was talking about, the references to Dungeons and Dragons from that period, which also Stranger Things uses, particularly in the latest season. But the fantasy art of that period. I mean, she reads these kind of like trash fantasy novels, which would have been extremely pulp fantasy novels, which obviously draws from that entire era of like Conan novels in the 80s. The kind of art that you would see with all of the muscle bound warriors and the damsels in distress. And it was just a time of high fantasy. It's why, Doa and I are doing the 1980s fantasy film arc, because there's like 10 of them a year, every year in the 1980s. It is crazy how popular it is during this time period.
And it's all downhill from Conan. But I mean, look.
I'm trying to think about that. That's true, I think.
No, it's right. The first Conan is fucking unbelievable. It just diminishing returns after that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's some good stuff in the earlier than Conan. I'm just thinking about stuff that's later than Conan gets a bit rough, right? Because it all basically becomes Conan clones that are B movies that were shown in grindhouses and are like exploitation films, which are funny. But anyway, so the entire setup of this is very, 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 very referential to all of these elements. And I think all of us, like, I grew up as a heavy metal fan. I grew up reading some of this fantasy stuff, watching, the fantasy movies of the 80s. So if you are steeped in this aesthetic, it is great. This movie is great.
I'll just quickly.
Well, essentially, Monty, it has a mad nostalgic feeling, but it comes out in 2018.
Yeah.
Like I say,
it's a brilliant homage to everything.
It feels so. If you love the 70s type shit, you're gonna love this film.
And it pulls in, like I was saying, it pulls in like the Manson family aspect. I have a very big soft spot for watching documentaries about religious cults from this time period, because especially in the 60s and 70s, the American Christian cult thing is going bananas.
Right.
So there's a bunch of those that were active. And it's like what the hippie movement turned into when some of them discovered Christianity and started believing aliens or connections between Christianity and like the hippie beliefs. So it gets really crazy. And also you have, of course, the rise of psychedelic drugs like LSD. Mm-hmm. You have the rise of biker gangs in the 70s, the Hells Angels, and the fear, obviously the fear that those biker gangs were instilling in people because they were violent, organized criminals during that area who were running drugs. They were drug dealers.
Well, again, it's the subversion of things in the 60s that were seen as relatively benign. When Hunter S. Thompson was talking about Hell's Angels, the Hell's Angels used to hang out with the fucking merry pranksters, right? Because it was where you got acid, and so you had the flower power people and the bikers all coming together. It was just a nebulous, kind of collection of counterculture operatives and people who wanted to operate outside of the fringes of society. You fast forward to the normie Wall Street loving capitalist 80s, where American society is becoming broadly more conservative. Yes, LSD is demonized. Yes, biker gangs are demonized. We're talking about the criminal element, not the freedom of the road element. Same thing with LSD. We talk about the psychologically damaging elements, not the mind expanding elements. And this is deliberate. Like Panos Cosmatos, who directs this film, and I'm going to tell you some mad shit about this guy later on in the episode, but he said he hated baby boom and new age spiritual ideals. In fact, Beyond the Black Rainbow, his first film, another masterpiece, is essentially about that. He says, he thinks that using psychological drugs for the purposes of mind expanding to create a utopia is something that's completely unattainable. And he says that to exist in a society or even just an individual state of doing that is ultimately probably destructive. And so that it is very reflected in this film, which is set in 1983. Yes, it borrows from that zeitgeist and that aesthetic, but what Panos Cosmatos believes about the nature of psychedelia, even though I can see from his movies he's clearly done these drugs, that is a given.
Yes.
But he is ultimately, he wants to focus on the dark. LSD does not set you free in this. It turns you into a monster. So, it's another fantastically interesting film. It's interesting. It's also excellent and fun to watch and incredible and rewards multiple viewings and is a spectacle. I mean, I adore this film. It's why I recommended it to Duncan in the first place. I've seen this movie, bro. You've got to, I don't just come out with fucking film recommendations apropos of nothing unless I think the movie is something that's going to genuinely change your life and change the way you think about films and the way you think about experiences. This movie absolutely achieves it. And Panos Cosmatos has done 2 movies. Both of them are masterpieces.
By the way, I've got to say as well, obviously his first movie, The Beyond the Black Rainbow, it isn't as good as this. It's more of the flawed gem for me. But you can see even in that, like mega, again, super intense film, a guy who's super bold in terms of the visual.
I should state visual masterpiece, I guess.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And then also, I'll just recommend to people, if anyone ever saw that anthology series, the one that's called Guillermo del Toro's, he did one episode of that. That's a must-watch. It's what he did. All I'll tell you is go into it with no knowledge. It's just another thing he did. It has Peter Weller in it. It's mega. It's like a really
Peter
good
Weller
one-off.
is dirtiest, sleaziest.
It's really good though. Again, if you like his style, you're gonna love it because again, this guy's visual and audio style. Like that's the thing. This guy understands cinema, mate. The way he captures you with both the color, the setting, the sound, everything. Like think about the scene, by the way, with the bikers first appear. How intense that feels. Like you're even just seeing the face of that like brother, whatever his name is. It's almost like he's like sweating, like.
Yep.
Now, the movie for this week is Mandy, but don't let that confuse you from our sponsor, which is Mando. And surely a very manly man like Nicolas Cage would be all over the bourbon leather scent offered in this stick deodorant by Mando. Not only that, You can get Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, other very masculine aromas for yourself. And it's not just deodorant, guys, not just stick deodorant. They have cream tube deodorant, which is like a lotion that you can rub into your pits, your grundle, wherever you may be having a little bit of BO. But they also have body wash. They have solid soap. They've got everything for your grooming needs. It's not antiperspirant either, which I really appreciate. So you can continue to sweat and stay cool while smelling fresh at the same time. And if you want to try it out, well, Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or deodorant wipes. I would really recommend the deodorant wipes. They are fantastic at freshening up. If you're camping, if you can't get to a shower right away, if you're just getting off work and heading out for dinner and drinks, there's a good opportunity just to pull one out of your bag, wipe down your pits, and you'll be feeling great. I promise. I love those things. You also get free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code, you guessed it, FOURPLAY. FOURPLAY, not the other thing, gross, at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. That's right. It's spelled like Mandy. It just has an O instead of the Y. Please support Foreplay and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it.
Like, mate, this film is so flawed. And by the way, to tie to what you said earlier, if some of the other films are psychedelic, this is the bad trip. This is some Enter the Void shit, man. This is a dark film.
And also, I will say that if you like the kind of atmosphere and the vibe he gives to the 80s, that Cabinet of Curiosities episode about the 70s is fucking so good. Just the aesthetic that he presents in the 70s. Yeah. It's like the best one of that entire series. And some of the other ones are pretty good too. But
I love that series. Like Netflix.
Yeah, the Cabinet of Curiosities, it's on Netflix, guys, by the way. Netflix commissioned it. It's good.
By the way, the other one, because I even said this to Monty, but he'd already seen it. The other one in that series that I knew Monty would vibe with is that one called like Lot 73 or whatever. Where it's
the storage locker one?
Yeah, but I won't tell you what's happening. But again, it's another like one where if you like Twilight Zone stuff, you've got to watch that one as well. By the way, the other thing about this film, I think, this is why actually it's brilliant as a Nick Cage project, is because it's not a one-note film. Think about it. It actually starts really like beautiful and sweet, which by the way, Nick Cage does have a vulnerable side to himself. Think of some of the films he's made, The Weatherman, etc. He has a side to himself where he does like to explore that. But then you think about the transformation later, well, as you say, Richard, like essentially he himself takes the fucked up spiked biker LSD to become a demon and just kill these fuckers. But I'll tell you what, it is so right on. And that scene where he's essentially just getting drunk in that bathroom or whatever, like, well, it's so hardcore, but what a fucking dope movie
let me explain how good this movie actually is, and it sets up talking about that drunk scene perfectly, because what do we know about Nick Cage? I know he is a former alcoholic. I know he is. It's not explicitly stated in the story. I know from the title crawl he's an alcoholic because he's a lumberjack and he's doing a hard day's work.
They're also giving you that vibe, you notice, of sort of like, this is your last chance to be redeemed in love, and you've had a rough life. They're playing to that theme.
After a hard day's work, cutting down trees with a chainsaw, which, by the way, if you think chainsaws make the job easier, you've never wielded a chainsaw, by the way. It's still a fucking very hard, demanding job. Might make it moderately easier than an axe, of course, but anyway, you're doing fucking thick trees with a giant vibrating machine on your arms over and over and over again. Yeah, it's not what you think it is.
Try not to get crushed by them.
Yeah, exactly. Making sure they go the right direction and all this. Like, it's hard labor, right? And you're doing that for hours a day. Anyway, when he's on the helicopter flying him out, because they're doing it in dense forest, so they're doing it via a helipad because there's no roads anywhere. Which, by
the way, is also an underrated aspect of American films, Monty, because one of the most misunderstood things about America, again, to European mind, is how big it is. Like, people don't know, bro, every year to this year, there are loads of people get lost just in the national parks alone. Like, as in the area that there's like discovered area. Well, if you ever go like to the Northwest, etc., mate, you could just go off in the forest and never.
I mean, I'm from the American West, so I know how easy it is to get lost in those fucking national parks.
No, but this is why this film, I actually think, think plays into a style of American film that I think is very underrated, which is the idea, even in America, there could be these weird aspects out there. The Bigfoot's is the most normie version, but there could be these weird mystical aspects where once you get out there, it becomes the imaginal space or something. And they're hinting at that in this, because by the way, that's
every
a mega
state
setup.
has a cryptid.
And this already has the weird mystique about it as he's setting it up, Richard.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, he's offered a beer. A bottle of beer. Who wouldn't take a cold bottle of beer after a hard day's physical labor? By the way, there's nothing like it. It's one of life's pleasures. And he says no. I know in that instance, if you're the type of person who has to turn down one cold bottle of beer after a hard day's work, you've got problems with alcohol. And what you're saying in that gesture is, I can't drink. I can't drink at all because it'll bring the beast out. Right. And so what do I know about from that simple gesture? This is what, they call it environmental storytelling or whatever. But from that simple gesture, I know Nicolas Cage, he's a former alcoholic who was on the wagon right now, and he's doing really well with his temperance and refusing it. But then after the horrifying tragedy of seeing Mandy get killed before his eyes, here's another way I know he's an alcoholic. He goes to the place where he has the hidden bottle of vodka. All alcoholics have this. By the way, might have some insight. You hide a bottle of booze for when you fucking really, really need it. You have the emergency bottle of spirit. It's always spirit. It's always liquor. Yeah, the real hardcore, they can put some cold beers in a toilet cistern because the wife never looks there. But you have the emergency bottle of booze. It's another classic trope of the alcoholic. It's a very real thing. And so where does he go? He goes to the toilet. And where is it hidden? Behind all of the towels, the blankets that no one uses. You probably only bust them out when you've got guests over, which, by the way, they're both damaged people. They don't have a lot of guests, do they? So it's the ideal spot. It's a theoretical towel for a theoretical guest that will never get used, and it's behind there, and he gets it. And what does he do? You watch him pound that shit. He's an experienced drinker. He sinks half a bottle of vodka in about five pulls of a bottle. So, all of which is to say that he is a former alcoholic. And it also really underscores the tragedy of it all, because I know people look at that scene and say it's ridiculous. Spoiler, the most ridiculous thing about that scene is Nicolas Cage hired a screaming coach for this movie. So he would get it right. That's such a Nicolas Cage thing to do as well.
It's great.
The
attention to detail is
he's already done 1 million movies where he chooses the scenery. He's like, I better actually hire a coach to teach me on the screen. You've got that down, Nick.
But by the way, what is great about that scene is the way that right. So he's drinking the vodka. He's lost his partner, who he adores. He's now off the wagon. This is ultimate rock bottom. Right, and he starts howling, and it's primal, and he's like he's angry at first, and then he sits down and he drinks a little bit more, and he's trying to, dilute the pain with the alcohol, and it becomes more and more like a keening, and then it's a very just believable, like sobbing, the type of sobbing you do when you're utterly defeated, and there's no tears, there's nothing. It's just like it's just this profound sadness. I think that scene. And by the way, people like the critical drinker and stuff use it flippantly. I think this is
that's mega.
Yeah, I know.
No, essentially, this is what you're nailing here. This is one of the best transformative scenes of who he was to become. By the way, the avatar of ultimate revenge. The joke is after this scene, you may as well start the fucking Doom theme playing or something like you're just gonna kill demons now. It's his fucking war boys.
And it ends. It ends with him. He's cried out, he's played out, and now he knows there is who he was when he went into that room and picked up that bottle. He's dead too. He doesn't exist anymore. That guy, Red, our character, he is now something else. He is the fucking Doomslayer now. He is an avatar of revenge. There is no personality left because he doesn't want to live in a world without Mandy.
By the way, I've just realised you could even draw a parallel to Unforgiven with this film.
Sure, exactly right. Also,
it's the same parallel.
Hulking up with the bottle. So, that scene is mega. But it's also mega because of everything we know about the character, just from him turning down the beer in the start. And this is what I mean about it rewarding repeat viewings, there are so many little details. It's like, I know Mandy is someone that's been in an abusive relationship. I know that scar. Yeah, it's very easy to understand. A physical scar is very often a physical manifestation, a visual nod to psychological trauma. How did she get it? By the way, it looks like it's from a broken bottle, just based on the round thing under the eye and then the jagged scarring underneath. You know, if you've ever seen somebody get chibbed, you know what I'm talking about as well.
And by the way, think about her response to the Jeremiah guy. That's also a classic response, which is you either just disassociate and go along with it, or your whole shit's like, fuck you. If I'm going to get wrecked anyway,
it's
I'll
not
be
her first time being sexually
you.
assaulted.
Absolutely.
That's what we understand in that moment. And so here we have, right, a former alcoholic who is a giant, big physical guy who we know clearly has a propensity and capacity for violence, but is wonderfully gentle and just so supportive.
And by the way, think how sweet these early scenes are. They're really touching and delicate.
It's heartbreaking. And also we have this damaged woman, and somehow, right, they found each other. And they are in this secluded house. By the way, it's a dream house. Who wouldn't want to live in a place like this? You know, on Crystal Lake, a nice nod to the Friday the 13th movies.
And they have the bed alcove that's completely surrounded by glass. And she has her job, but she's working as an artist, in her spare times.
Specifically for like comic book and album art, very much like is on the covers of the pulp books she reads. But also as well, that's another perfect metaphor. Anyone that has had horrible things happen to them in real life, yes, you retreat into fantasy. And what's super interesting about the film is, like, you can see how Nick Cage, his character, he's not from that. That's not what he's done. What he's done is, as an alcoholic, he's physically, quite literally retreated. He's retreated. You take that lumberjack fucking job in the middle of nowhere when there's nothing left for you in polite society. Like, you can't be around people,
and you got to get rid of your friends and all that jazz.
Yeah, exactly. You're a chronic crippling alcoholic. You fucked up every relationship. I know all this about this guy, and it is nowhere explicitly stated, and yet here he is.
Richard watching this movie like, that's me for real.
No. I mean, just nowhere near as cool or in good shape. But I do have a pretty awesome head of hair these days for some reason. So. But when they're together, the tenderness and the interest, like the conversations they have where they're staring at each other in the bed and they're like, he says, like, what's your favorite planet? Because she's drawing planets, and she talks about how it's Jupiter, and it's because it's one of the first planets that man discovered, and it made us realize that there were things out there that we couldn't understand. It just wonderfully sets up the film, and then she asks him the return question, and you can see he's never thought about it.
Galactus isn't a planet.
Yeah, but it eats planets.
He says Saturn, and this is another thing that I love, he then goes to a comic book character, clearly because she's a comic book artist and he wants to make a reference they can vibe with, and he says Galactus. Galactus going to be the bad guy in the new Fantastic Four. That looks absolutely awful.
He also eats planets.
He eats planets, but what does that make him? A destroyer of worlds, and Nick Cage's world is about to be destroyed by what is to him the Galactus, by taking Mandy away, his whole planet, his whole Earth. This movie is fucking sick on every level. Storytelling, script, dialogue, action, visuals. By the way, just to keep going, the visuals, get this, right? You know how, like, everybody jerks off about how, like, in Don't Look Now and The Sixth Sense, people use red to point out death, the same with always talk about the Godfather and the oranges and stuff like this, right? What about this? The high art in this movie starts in the title sequences. The title sequence is red, vivid red, right? But wherever there is a point of interest in the opening crawl, it is also red. The character is called Red, and so therefore they use the color red to draw your attention to what you should be looking at in the shot and all the important details.
And then eventually the whole movie is just red.
But it gets better. It gets better, Monty. Right? The song that is playing over the title sequence is called Starless, right? By King Crimson. From what album? It's from the album called Red. Fuck me. This guy is actually sequence.
Like this movie film is going to be like some like Robert Eggers' genius character. I can just tell. I was trying to wait for him to do something else, mate. That's why I saw that episode of that show, because I'm desperate for this fucker to do more films.
Well, his next movie is an 80s vampire film.
Right.
It's not only that, it's an 80s vampire film that he's directing. Yeah. It stars Kristen Stewart and Oscar Isaac, and also it's written by the guy who did Seven, who wrote 7, 8mm, and Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
I'm in for this. It's supposed to come out. It's supposed to come out at Cannes this year, so it's coming soon.
I'm in just with this guy. By the way, you want to know what else is funny about Panos Cosmatos? This will blow your mind, right? So he is technically a Nepo baby because his father was a director, and his father has directed films you've seen and we've constantly referenced on this movie. He did Cobra, he did Rambo: First Blood Part 2, but he also was the director of Tombstone, and the first film that his son Panos Cosmatos had any experience on was he was a unit operator on Tombstone. So the guy,
at least he's a better director than his dad.
Listen,
he's way better.
I'd love to see him remake Tombstone. That's now we're talking. But anyway, it's just super interesting to me that like he couldn't be further away from the type of movies that his father did with what he does. And as I said, like, you know, he took 8 years between films. Like Beyond the Black Rainbow could have easily propelled him into something. He strikes me as a cat that's going to make just the projects he wants, and I think Eggers is going to do the big studio movie. I think he does the Disney movie. I don't think this guy is. I think this guy's going to probably make a total of like 4 or 5 films before he dies, and they're all just going to be bangers. Like, and like this is why he is a treasure. Like this.
By the way, as I said earlier, that I actually do think it is literally a feature, not a bug. That they never attempt to explain any of the weird magical elements or who the why are these bikers like Slipknot meets Hellraiser? By the way, it's not important. All that's cool is that we don't know their mysterious. I even think, by the way, one of the most mysterious parts of this film, but this is brilliant if you want to really get inside someone's head and make the movie nightmare fuel, is when they're dosing up Mandy and they just pull that fuck off like Cronenberg-esque wasp to see and go, that's the cherry on the cake. There's something so maliciously malevolent about that. That's so dark. And
Hold still.
because, by the way, they never explain what that is. They don't.
It never comes back.
Matter. It's about you're just suffering, bro. You're just suffering
but also what it suggests is right. They have taken so many hallucinogenic drugs. They have figured out that this one breed of wasp, if you ingest the drug and get stung at the same time, it fucking elevates the trip.
Yep.
No, and by the way, that's why I say it's so mysterious. The mystique is crazy because notice how it's almost like they've got the wasp itself in some sort of like LSD treatment or something. Just fucking thrashing about. No, for real, that's like a Cronenberg moment. That's nightmare fuel when they pull that shit out.
This whole film is basically just a heavy metal concept album, right? You don't have time in a song to describe why the wasp is there, but it just is.
Notice that they barely like you almost never see what the actual like biker creatures look like, but the man, they're fucking, you'll remember them forever, bro. They are dope as fuck. Yeah. That's why when he sort of becomes the ultimate version of them, it's really cool, actually. It's kind of a really fun fucking last third to the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they are, like, they do channel a little bit of the Cenobites from Hellraiser. There's obviously that aesthetic is in there. But there is also something else going on, you know, and it's like, it is interesting because one of the things...
By the way, I also just love that angle, Richard, that the backstory goes and then someone lays... But then the idea that they're coming along, think about when they first meet him going, more. Like,
more.
These are the fuckers who didn't just destroy them.
But that's what
drugs.
That's what I like
more
about
of it. They want more of that.
There's actually
I love the line where it's like where he's talking with the guy in the trailer when he gets the Reaper.
Bill Duke,
the Reaper, his crossbow, which is funny because that's right after Mandy says like the Reaper is coming for you, and then he goes and gets his crossbow, the Reaper, and he's like, they looked like they were in pain, and they fucking loved it.
They were in a world of pain. But you know what the freakiest part was?
What's that?
They fucking loved it.
Yeah. I mean, this, but that's what's great.
Well, that's gnarly. That's why you're right. It is the most metal movie ever. It's gnarly as fucking it. I love it.
Because what happens is right. So the movie makes you think that the cult are pathetic. I mean, the cult are pathetic. They are. And by the way, a beautiful observation about the type of cult that you get. Generally cult leaders project and again, having studied Riot Games, you know, I know a lot about cults. I've read a lot about it. they're generally cult leaders. They project an illusion of competence they don't actually possess. They just happen to surround themselves with absolute losers. So essentially, they are the.
They nail the architects in this one, don't they?
Yeah. And that's exactly what he is. But so the cult is wonderfully observed. But where it gets interesting is, that's a very realistic, conceivable cult. That's very Manson-esque, right? Manson wasn't a fucking genius. He wasn't a fucking babbling idiot, failed musician. Yeah, exactly. Like, what is it with people who don't have their artistic dreams? Failed painters, failed musicians. They're all history's biggest monsters. But what they do is they go out and they find vulnerable people that aren't as intellectually, sound as them, that are vulnerable and needy in certain ways they can exploit. And that's all very well observed. But then he calls for the horn of Abraxas. And you go, right, this is
as soon as I even hear that, I'm just in, bro. I'm just in.
Yeah.
By the way, Abraxas is a Gnostic deity, guys, if you don't know. It's a
Yep. So they call for the horn of Abraxas. They blow the horn of Abraxas, and I'm going, this is just the first time you watch it.
Which even looks like some dark version of Ocarina of Time.
Wait.
I love it.
So it's so funny because he's like, take the horn of Abraxas, and then you just get the seizure green lights because the emerald lights come from Mandy's book, and like the warlock stealing the gem or whatever, right? And so you just get they're just sitting in like a hotel room, and then all of a sudden there's just like seizure green lights on this volcanic like pumice whistle, and you're like, what are they doing? And so then they drive out in their shitty 70s van really, into the middle of nowhere. And at this point I was watching with my wife, and I said to her, what do you think is going to happen when they blow this? And I said, you won't guess.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They blow the horn of Abraxas, and the horn of Abraxas appears to fucking summon what initially appears like a demon.
Yeah.
And the demon turns up and goes, right, blood. They give him a jar of blood.
For blood.
Yeah, and they've secretly decided they're just going to kill the fat loser in the cult, and they're going to feed him. And he does get fed to the demons. So at first you're like, wow, these guys are just drug freaks. They don't have any ties to the other realm. And then they summon these things that do appear to be like demons, and you go, holy shit, they're onto something. They've actually got powers. And then Bill Duke tells you, nah, they're just a bunch of gnarly cannibalistic bikers that did too much acid. So it fucking pulls you one way and then drags you back the next. Another little thing as well is the visual motif of because he's super cruel to the mother in the cult, and basically like he wants to have sex with Mandy because he's clearly unsatisfied with only having the two women to have sex with. If you look at the other men, not the bald one, but the ones with the long blonde hair, again, just subtextually, just as a little visual reference, it's telling you he used to fuck that old woman and they're probably his kids. They look like him. They look like shit, goofy, inbred versions of him. And, so is that they're doing that to look like the cult leader? Nah, chances are they are actually just on the road fucking each other all the time, like weird hillbillies or whatever. So this movie's just fucking mega. Like, this is one where, by the way, every scene is telling you multiple stories all at once. And I just love the fact that the demonic aspect of it is essentially like just they're just pure malevolence. They just took too much LSD and they are now just so beyond. They can't feel pain. They don't feel remorse. They're completely devoid of empathy. And Nick Cage has to get on their level in this film, which, by the way, without Mandy in his life, he's more than happy to do. When he meets the chemist that made the fucking cooked LSD, he's like, right, well, I've already fought one of them, and it was a lot harder than it should be. So I'ma pop that fucking pill. Let's go, like, and then the rest of the movie. I mean, by the way, if I told you this movie, Nick Cage has a girlfriend who gets killed by a Christian Jesus freak cult, and then he has to go and fight bikers that may or may not be demons, and it ends in a chainsaw fight. You go, that movie sounds like garbage. That's like a 1 out of 10 movie. Like, fucking no. I mean, not me. You probably do. This
6.5 on IMDb, by the way. So some motherfuckers are dragging this score down, man.
It's actually embarrassing
That's
that
mad,
this
isn't
isn't
it?
at least in the sevens. Like, it's actually
Well,
embarrassing.
Also, by
but
the way, what a well cast film as well. Like
Mm.
a lot of people I'm not familiar with the name of. Like the guy who plays Jeremiah Sand, the cult leader,
Yep.
Linus
Brilliant.
Roach. I've seen him in a few things, but mate, he kills that role. Like I thought he actually did do exactly that thing of like the fake charisma that does fool idiots, but then also the like resentful, bitter rage that he sort of shows off in the film. I mean, his whole vibe in this film's basically, like, if I can't have this woman, not only do you not get to have her, but let's like actually make some sort of fucked up like murderous act out of the fact you don't get to have her. Let's just burn her in front of you. By the way, even that scene shows how actually like evocative this film is. You don't actually see Mandy get burned. You see someone in a sleeping bag get set on fire. But mate, the effect is crazy. You're right there with Nicolas Cage watching her get burned up. Then the guy I've referenced earlier, his name's actually Ned Dennehy. He's actually the guy who's in Peaky Blinders, if people have never seen that. That guy fucking kills it in this film, mate. He steals almost every scene he's in. He's the one that's doing all the magical stuff and is like desperate for the cult leaders. I think that guy fucking nails it. Like, who the fuck was this guy?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like...
And then, as you say, Bill Duke, if you're just a fan of the
great.
sort of movies we like, the idea he pops up is absurd, isn't it? Like, yes.
The thing is, until Mandy, I'm ashamed to say, I'd assumed he died. It felt like he hadn't been in anything for such a long, long time. And by the way, as cameos go, this is Bill Duke's territory. You know, Bill Duke's great in Commando when he plays Cook. Obviously, we all love him as Mark in Predator. You know, he fucking...
Easily the best one. Don't you dare say that.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, that guy. By the way, I can't believe we haven't crowbarred that film in yet. That's coming soon at some point. We have to rewatch Predator, the first one.
But yeah, he hadn't done like a film that had been on my radar. I think like the last film I actually saw him in was probably like the third X-Men movie, where he played Trask in that. That was probably the last film I saw him in. That's like 2006. And then he popped up in this. And by the way, he was looking ill. You could see he's old and frail here. Like, he's not looking well. But I was like, he's Bill Duke! He's black! And he gets, like you say, he gets like one of the coolest lines in the movie. They were all on pain, brother. And they fucking loved that shit.
Such a good line.
Which, remember, that is just like, at this point, you have to understand, you were with the character of Nick Cage, Red, early before you were identified. Now you're just in the Metal Doom verse. Like, that's, of course.
Yeah,
right
but see, that's what's so great about this is that it turns in from like this very interesting take on the early 80s, and you have the Manson cult, into just straight up a heavy metal revenge story. And if you just describe the shit that goes on, you're like,
it's so satisfying.
And then Nicolas Cage just chugs a bottle of vodka and decides to go get his crossbow, the Reaper, with his special bolts that his friend made, and then he forges a heavy metal style.
That in itself is dope. And then also, like I say, Monty, it's when
the axe is called the Beast.
It's when you think he's breaking in there, just find out what the gang is. No, he then just takes the tip. Like, I love everything about how stupid.
How is this not a meme, by the way? Where a meme gif where he just takes the shard of glass, picks up like a mountain of cocaine, and just like rips it. Like,
by the way, Richard, that's also another thing I can relate to on the, like, if you're someone who's ever been on benders, because that's the point in the night where it's like, I'm just doing anything to keep going at this point.
Exactly.
We can snort, bump, what have you got?
I do not want to let go of the balloon right now.
Exactly. Just keep it going.
You know,
because you're right, Monty, that's like a throwaway scene. He just killed a bunch of people. They just couldn't like. And then you're like, at that point, you're like in for a penny.
Probably didn't even know that.
This is why Nicolas Cage is so good, because it's as he descends into this like drug madness, his like wide-eyed overacting is just like so fucking great.
By the way, you could not imagine this
well.
movie with any other actor. What actor could play this role, bro? No. That would even be, look, it'd be a fun thought exercise, but who the fuck could you even cast in this role? I don't think anyone, mate.
No one.
It was the most Nicolas Cage movie ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, you need a larger-than-life person. But this is exactly the type of role Nicolas Cage will give you gold in, because you say to him, right, you are in unbelievable pain, right? So show me that. So he does. He uses all of his acting range. By the way, really poignant
Again,
scene
when you're seeing her get burned and you're seeing his face, mate, he's nailing it. He's fucking killing the acting. He's sick, isn't he?
Right. So the poignant scene is when he finally sets himself free and he goes over to the ashes, and there's just like the little bit
Mate,
of
that like musical refrain as the face goes into... That's actually beautiful. That's like fucking amazing cinematography, isn't it?
And he's just, you can see in his face, but that's fucking insane. So he's got to give you unbelievable pain, and he's got to give you unbelievable anger, and you have to understand that you are now transforming into something almost otherworldly. You are just a primal force at this point, and he does that as well. By the way, also, sometimes those cool one-liners, because Nick Cage gets a few as well, they can seem absolutely ridiculous. And also, you've got to do what I imagine were very heavily choreographed, hard to do action scenes. Wielding prop chainsaws for a almost like knight-esque duel at the end.
It's so good.
Like this is where you need a Nick Cage. It's as simple as that. There's nobody else that's going to be able to pull this off. When I saw this movie, I heard about it being made, and I was like, right, I know it's going to be great. Like I had no doubt in my mind. Director of fucking Black Rainbow.
Bro, I know what you mean, Richard. If you even try, I'm looking up quotes. You can't look at the quote on paper. It doesn't work. Like, it sounds whack. It sounds like something from a B movie. But again, you guys have watched the film. The one where he just goes to the cult leader guy and he goes, "I'm your god now."
Yeah.
Like, fucking...
So you kneel before me, motherfucker!
I'm your god now.
That's they all land. Everything lands. That's why I'm agreeing with you. Like, I refuse to even say this is a flawed gem. It's just a really good film. Like, how the fuck has this ever gotten under a 7? I can't even. To me, I'd put it this way. I'd probably veer between is it an 8 or a 9. I think this movie's unbelievable.
Definitely is. And just as well. I mean, like, it goes without saying. I don't even know how much we can dedicate to talking about it. The visuals in this film it's like no movie you've ever seen.
It is crazy they did this on the budget they did. It was a $6 million movie. And if you think about it, it has extremely complex photography, very strange photography. The costumes are all great. They had to do it in period, so you had to have all of the appropriate settings. You had to have a quite famous actor, again, down on his luck, but certainly not taking what he deserved probably to be in this movie. You're talking about a pretty famous composer who did a banger soundtrack for this. You're licensing famous music. And also you're choreographing really complicated fight scenes that include, like Richard said, chainsaws.
I've got a great quote for you about this, right? So, when Cosmatos was putting together his casting choices, because just for people at home, when you're a director of a movie, you might not you don't necessarily cast the actors, right? So the studio might do that, but you can obviously, in smaller movies especially, you can give like casting notes. You can say, I wrote this part with this person in mind, or whatever it is, and then you bring them into audition for a role. You see if it vibes, and the studio gives you the thumbs up, etc. So there's a whole process. You don't always get the actors that you want. So Cosmatos wanted Nicolas Cage in the film, but he wanted him for the cult leader, right? So
by the way, that could have been interesting, though. I can see him pulling that role off.
So Cage,
I think he could have done it, but he's much better as Red, right?
So Cage, because originally, like, Red was written as a guy in his 20s. They were a young couple like that. So anyway, Cosmatos basically was like, he wanted to get Cage in. They had a meeting, and Nick Cage said, "I've read the script, love the script, but I'm Red." And he said, "I've got a pitch for you. I will play this role as Klaus Kinski from California." Now, if you know anything about Klaus Kinski, that should make a director run a mile. Just ask Werner Herzog.
Probably the most
about that.
famous like problem child actor ever for directors. Yeah.
And Cosmatos said, "I'm gonna have to think about it." And he said Cosmatos said he went to bed and he had a dream. He was dreaming about it, and he said he saw the film with Cage playing Red in his dreams and immediately cast him. Everything about this film just fucking rules, dude. Like, it's just it's just everything about this film is fucking so good. So yeah, that's how Nick Cage basically.
By the way, I also agree, even beyond the like commercial, the actual soundtrack is unbelievable too. The guy, if you don't know, also did a lot of Denis Villeneuve soundtracks, but like the soundscapes he is putting on are mega. I agree, because that's the other thing about this film. I mean, sadly, these are all cliches. Every bloody review is driven into the ground, but it is like a visual audio experience with like things that are thematic. Like, basically, if you're a film student, by the way, you should love this film. It's fucking amazing. It has every element you'd want in a film, and I agree, Richard. The first time you watch it, it's really great, but when you rewatch it, it's one of those things where everything's intentional. Like you say, everything's an allusion to something else, or ties into something else, or has a congruent like color scheme that ties to emotion in the film. That's not one of those things where people are just speaking out their arse, just trying to come up with some cool idea. Like I buy it in this film. It does seem like this guy is an auteur.
Yeah. Definitely. And as you know, just again on the visuals, I think this is the best use of a color palette I've seen in any movie. I genuinely mean this, since probably Michael Mann's Manhunter. Where color is essential to narrative. I genuinely believe that. I think the use of the red and the green and the blues and particularly the purples in this film, it's incredible, and it's telling you something. It is saying something about what is going on in the movie. It is saying something about what is going on with the characters. Red is used to denote both anger. It's used to denote different types of reds. It's used to denote love. The final scene where Nick Cage, having killed everyone in progressively more gruesome and hideous manner, is riding off in the car and thinks he sat next to Mandy. He sees a vision of Mandy while he's tripping balls. By the way, I
love his grin in that. His facial expression is so good.
Again, that's the Kabuki coming back, right? 100%.
Definitely.
And then he just looks out the window, which, by the way, all of this is drenched in red. He's caked in blood. Right? He's just got blood all over him. He's absolutely drenched in blood. His own, everyone else's. And then he looks out the window and he's driving off into the sumptuous orange of Mandy's comic book drawing from earlier. Fucking mega, like, what a film. Like, visually it's absolutely stunning. It also does things that are completely out of place. It's a small portion of it is an animated film, like, because obviously it's a nod to what she does. It brings up title sequences to let you know where the story you're in. When the cult is first introduced, they get their name brought up. It just zooms in. It's just a title card in the middle of the film telling you.
By the way, it looks dope though. Again, like that design looks so sick, bro.
Yeah, it's just mental. And when he has a vision of her dead after she's been burned, he sees her from the back and a waving hair, obviously, as you would see if you were spooning, your partner in bed. And then she turns around, she slowly starts to rot. They could have easily done that, cinematically. They chose to do it.
By the way, I forgot as well, because I was just looking at it while you were saying that. At the end, when he drives off, at the end, it's not even in reality anymore. He's in some sort of like weird, like science. Like, he's like a sci-fi world or something, isn't he? Like,
yeah. Well, it's because of the planets conversation he had earlier.
No, but it looks awesome. Like that.
Yeah, like the two planets in the sky.
Looks unbelievable, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree with you, Monty. How the fuck was this made on this budget? Doesn't even make sense.
It's wild.
There are a couple of bits, like, just to be fair, there are a couple of bits where you can see how a lot of this was done artificially, rather than, on location or using actual lenses. There's a lot of, it's a lot. There's like two moments of, the digital lens flare they put in when they're coming down. I think it's for the shot on the lake, and you see the digital, and it's clearly fake digital lens flare that's brought in. But I mean, listen, you really are. If this is how deep you have to go to find a flaw in the fucking movie, what are we talking about? But it's just perfect. It just goes from that scene where they're they're at home, and it's got all the warming reds and the oranges and the warm glow of love. It just cuts up to the sky, pans down, and then you've just got this stunning blue of the lake that they're on, just with a tiny boat just floating on it. Just fucking insanely beautiful film. And like, by the way, it only had the 6 million it had. Do you want to know the unsung hero in this? Elijah Wood.
He contributes some money towards it or something.
He was one of the main producers. He has a company that specializes in horror movies called Spectre Vision, and they basically made a number of movies. But he's made some of the movies I really like. Like I think he produced The Greasy Strangler. You ever seen this?
No.
Greasy Strangler's a banger, by the way, boys. You've got to watch this. It's like an insane. It's a horror about. It's a comedy horror. It's very, very funny. It's a comedy horror about an old man who is a serial killer who likes to fucking cover his people in grease and then strangle them to death. And he has a son who is educationally subnormal. They fall in love with the same woman, and so they end up in this insane love triangle where, to impress the woman, he brings back the greasy strangler. Right? It's wild as fuck. It's crazy. But anyway, Elijah Wood is producing via Spectre Vision. He's producing some insanely interesting movies, and I love the work he's going on to do here. And this is the high watermark. This was the most probably critically acclaimed film Spectre Vision has contributed to. No one's really seen The Greasy Strangler. That's another Richard being a hipster thing, I guess. But yeah, Elijah Wood basically raised the money for this, and otherwise it might not have got made. So fucking love to hit Elijah Wood now on my absolute pantheon of cinema heroes. Love him. Love it.
By the way, I have to say, considering this might be one of the most positive reviews we've ever given a film, if you do bounce off this film, I just feel bad for you because, like, look, I can't relate to you.
Peasant.
This is one of those rare times where, like, look, there are films I like that I get that's just my shit or something strange that's just speaking to me. I think this is like I said, I think this is one of the most criminally underrated. By the way, and hence the foreplay. This is the sort of pilot to foreplay. This is one of the films I almost feel like I fucking proselytize to try and get people to watch this film.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones you almost beg people and they just never get round to watching it. And so sadly, there's so many people out there. Like if you hadn't watched it before this series, you're welcome, because this is a fucking banger that you probably would never get to.
Well, I can't believe, I genuinely cannot believe anyone in our audience is going to dislike this film.
I hope not.
I just can't imagine it. It ticks all the boxes for what our demographic should be.
And also will be after this. So I think it must be crazy. Like the director Cosmatos, he must have some insane charisma to convince Nicolas Cage this movie, to have Nicolas Cage say, "I don't only want to be in this movie, I want to be the lead, and here's why." For him to attract like the amount of talent that it would have taken around him to do this.
By the way, though, that's why I agree with Richard before. That's why his career is very unique, though. Like the joke is, he's almost starting at the end of the Kubrick arc, where you're just doing films every 10 years if you feel like it. Because I agree with him. First of all, Beyond the Black Rainbow is like the best fucking audition tape you could ever send in if you want people to hire you in Hollywood. Then you do this film, it's unbelievable, but you're just chilling, waiting all these years. Mate, normally you'd say strike while the iron's hot, go straight after this film, get some other Hollywood actors straight into the cinema, get another movie done. But this guy's fucking. He's going at his own pace, mate. He's going at his own pace.
Yep. Also, I mean, the music behind this, Beyond the King Crimson, is incredible. The soundtrack is crazy good.
By the way, I also unironically listened to this soundtrack. It's really, really good.
Yes. So it's interesting though because it's not period. It's not period to 1983. It's much more like contemporary, like drone metal. So it has a bunch of these droning guitars. But this guy who made it, Jóhann Jóhannsson, has also scored 3 other movies we've done on this show, which are Prisoners, Sicario, and Arrival. And Arrival, remember we talked about the soundtrack there. It has this like kind of ominous droning sound constantly. This guy was I say because he unfortunately died of a drug overdose, but he was this Icelandic composer, and this soundtrack is so good. And how after this guy did multiple Villeneuve films, including major successes. The director got him on this movie too. It's like, how did he do this? How did he get all these people? How did he get
he must be mega in the pitch room, mate. He must have a
dude.
great
He must be
minutes,
insane.
You know?
Like, how could he get the level of cinematography that he got? The director of photography here, the lighting people. Like, this movie looks amazing, and for the cost plus Nicolas Cage plus this composer, like how did he do this?
Yeah,
this
Jóhann Jóhannsson as well. It's really sad. You know, he's only 48 when he died. It was cocaine, but apparently he mixed it with one of them super strong flu medications, and it just fucking he obviously just went into some sort of opioid shock or whatever. But he had just attained enough recognition to. He was about to get the bag. He was about to get the Disney bag. He'd been hired to score the live adaptation of Christopher Robin or whatever it was. And then obviously he died the same year Mandy came out. I think he even died before Mandy was released, actually. So he didn't even.
He died, but it was the movie's dedicated to him, I believe.
Yeah,
so I think he
Well,
died.
there you go,
before, and then it came out.
So, you know, I mean, like, really, really sad story considering how talented he was. And as we've just alluded to, for our Denis Villeneuve arc, he was the guy behind all of that. I mean, the fucking prisoners slept on.
By the way, it also implies, for all we know, he could have been doing Dune and all the other fucking Denis Villeneuve films now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's, you know, well, I mean, did he do something for Blade 2049?
No, he was not doing. He didn't do that one because apparently Villeneuve wanted to do something different. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't have done more stuff in the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just really, really sad. But this also, it really shows you why you're not going to see a lot of movies from Cosmatos. You know, because, like, think about what he's putting together. Think about what he's cooking, right? Like, he writes these movies as well. The 2 movies he's done, he writes the stories. He wants to be like an auteur-style figure. Well, studios don't fuck with that these days.
Well, he's not writing the next one, like I said, but it is a very well-known writer. So.
You have to beg, borrow, and steal to get your money. Right, and so he's like, you know, he's out there. He's having meetings with like production companies set up as a side gig by actors to then get the money together. By the way, there were 3 production companies that got $6 million together for this film. It took 3 production companies with Spectavision doing the most, probably like with 3 to 4 of it, and he's then able to get in a room with Nick Cage to talk about whether he wants to play the cult leader. Nick Cage loves the script so much, and is in crippling debt, of course, and decides, no, I want to be the lead in the film. And then he also goes out and gets a combination of slept-on character actors that have mostly done television parts, if we're being honest about it, or very small bit parts in films, gives them a canvas within which they can showcase their talents, with Linus Roach coming out on top, like absolutely killing it. And then, obviously, as well, knows that there is this action element to the movie, and the movie does need to be a little bit silly and a little bit rock and roll and a little bit over the top. I'll bring Bill Duke back to have one of the gnarliest scenes. Right from the get-go, by the way, when he pulls up to that caravan and he's wrote "fuck off" on the door of the caravan. I know everything about Bill Duke as well. He's a prepper. He lives in the woods. He doesn't want to talk to anyone. Probably ex-military. Probably got his own problems. PTSD out of his mind. He's just living in the middle of nowhere in a caravan listening. And he even says, I heard it on the CB. Oh, you're a CB radio and talking to other preppers on the fucking radio. I know, you know, it's like the world of Mandy is it should be absurd, but it's also believable. And grounded, and it just feels
it's
like
also just so internally consistent. I think that's what's so good about this movie, is that it's so tonally consistent. The world is so believable. And I know you don't like John Wick, Richard, but John Wick has internal logic and consistency to the universe, which I think is attractive. And, you know, you can dislike or not like, like John Wick, but it's similar in that you enter the fantasy universe of Mandy and it all clicks together and makes sense. Do
you want to know how you can tell I'm a hipster arsehole? I don't like John Wick, but I really, really like the Nicolas Cage film Pig, which is just John Wick with a pig instead of a dog and
Pig is great
instead of guns.
I like it all personally.
But yeah, I mean, look, I think I agree. I think people really struggle with this in films a lot of the time, particularly if you're veering into the fantastical. I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast. You must create a rule set that you cannot deviate from, because
Mad Max is like this too.
Yes.
Mad Max is very much like this.
Great comparison, actually. You know, Fury Road. It
you do not, and Thorin's right. Do not explain anything in Fury Road. This is. I mean, I went on a rant when we did the Fury Road prequel. What was it called?
Not Ponderosa. That's a tricky album. Furiosa.
Furiosa. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I complained about this.
Tricky lately. Sorry.
I complained about this because, like, I don't think Furiosa is a bad movie, but my complaint was, as Thorin said earlier, none of it needed to be explained. I didn't need to know what the Bullet Farm was. I just needed to know that there was a thing called the Bullet Farm. That's why I liked Fury Road. Yeah. And overly explaining things is the fucking plague. It's how we get the forces, midichlorians in the blood.
Think about how many it also says something about script writing, because if you ever noticed how it's never the brilliant script writer who tries to explain all this stuff. It's always a hack. And the problem is they're not actually good enough at writing to do an awesome like backstory. Like if you have the immortal Joker, I don't want to know anything about the backstory. It's already super compelling and mysterious.
Yes,
don't
exactly.
tell me how he became that character.
I don't care.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that.
This is what people do. It's like, you fucking nerds ruin everything. You're like, I need to know about the backstory of Morton Joe. Well, they're going to make some graphic novels for you that I don't have to read, and like that'll be good enough. And what I was so sad about is like, why can't I see Max like go into the next adventure, go somewhere else, and there's like other crazy shit that's happening. I don't want to know more about Immortan Joe. I don't want to know more about the Bullet Farm. I don't want to know more about any of that shit. And explaining it partially ruins it.
By the way, doesn't that sort of say something about Hollywood too? You took what, as you're saying, Monty, could have been an amazing wide open world sandbox to do anything with, and you just keep telling the same story over and over again. You just keep telling the same fucking story. No, you can do a million other awesome stories. Open the box.
It's like just show us. In this film, we don't need to know about where the bikers came from. It's like the chemist gave him a tainted batch of LSD. He takes like one lick of it, and it makes him crazy, and he starts having the biker voice, and he goes and finds the chemist. Why does the chemist have a fucking tiger that he's dosing with LSD? Doesn't matter. What happens to it when it's released?
And
doesn't
that chemist
matter.
has that fucking mad line too, like, oh, they really wronged you, man. Like, oh, fucking everything about this movie is just so good.
And
that's why I wanted to rewatch it. It's just so
He's
good.
only there to figure out where the children of the New Dawn went. He's like, they went north, and he's like, well, off I go then. That's all I need. That's all I need.
I mean, I even go so far as to say that the only reason it's like, you know, usually when you explain things, it's bad. But the explanation of the fact that these are not demons from the Shadow Realm, but just a bunch of crazy bikers imbued with tainted LSD, I actually think that's great. I think that little detail, finding that out in the middle of the movie, essentially. Because, by the way, this is the other aspect to this movie. The fucking, the way I remembered it, and I've seen this movie a lot, you always remember it, that Mandy dies like way earlier than...
Oh, dude, I was like, because the way I remember this movie, Richard, I remembered it that Mandy dies in the first 10 minutes and it goes from like 0 to 100.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I was
watching this again. I was like
50 something minutes into the film.
I was like, I did not remember that there was this much front of this movie. And it's not a problem. It's good, but I just didn't remember.
You know why? You know why? Because I can tell you exactly why. Because the way the film just does that turn in the middle and all of a sudden Nick Cage is in. You're right there with him. You're riding with him. You know, on the second time you watch, like Mandy's dead. She's gone, right? Like, we got to go get these bikers. I'm with you, man. Like, you're fully invested in the revenge trip, and that's why actually the reason you do feel so strongly about it is because they do have a really touching relationship. The things she has to endure before she dies are horrible. The way the body is burnt in front of him is atrocious. The way he's there with her ashes, just staring at her, still sizzling remnants. You know, they do that. It's done so perfectly to just get you on board.
It's also why I say
happen.
That's why, actually, funny enough, because we watched it not that long ago, I can see the parallel to Unforgiven. It's the same shit, isn't it? Oh, look at that, Richard. You had this harsh character who's had to reform himself because he's found that one love you get at the end of life that might redeem it all. But then you know what? She's dead and gone, and also they've fucked with the people in your life in such an outrageous way, because that's what you really need for a great revenge film. Here's what people miss in modern films. you actually need it to be like, oh, this is so over the top. Look how horrible they're being to him, because that just makes like, fuck, I want so badly for you to get their revenge. And like the character at the end of Unforgiven, it's glorious when this motherfucker's just like, right, well, I've summoned the demon now, mate. So now you got to deal with it.
I don't deserve this. It's like when Mother Marlene fucking says, you know, I was able to vibe with Mandy because of my empathy or whatever she says, and he cuts her head off, mate. Like,
oh, fuck her.
And then so you know, he just is a full monster by that point. But good, these people have it coming. I don't feel bad. I don't think, you could have let the women go. They themselves are being brutalized by a cult leader.
I mean, did let one of the women go.
I mean, the youngest, yeah, but I mean, like,
she was basically a sex slave, so
that's pre-LSD, right?
By the way, I'm with you though, Richard. No. The way they make that woman, the older woman.
when he kills the brother Swan guy and she runs away from the van. Anyway,
yeah, continue. But has he done the LSD?
Yes, he killed all the bikers by that point. Anyway, yes.
Okay, right. Yes,
continue.
The woman who's the older, the mother one, who I agree, it's so obviously coded that like she was the original fucking one, fucking the leader, but it's bored of her now, and you know, get me a new girl, basically.
Yeah.
Like the way she is so pathetic is like so masterfully done too. Because I agree, Richard, I have no sympathy for her either. She's the one who pulls out that massive fucking wasp. Kill that bitch.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the one scene I miss in this movie.
Truly the Ghislaine
kill the wasp.
Maxwell
Kill the wasp.
Yes.
That's who needed to die in this movie, was the wasp. Kill that wasp.
I mean, look,
I hate that wasp.
I'll be real with you as well.
I don't like wasps either. So
you know, there's something to be said about a woman who is being brutalized going out and seizing another woman to be brutalized in the same way she is, to try and regain favor with the man that does the brutalization.
It's Ghislaine Maxwell. It's literally the woman who's too old who becomes the groomer of the object of her love, right? To satisfy
and
the
that's,
desires.
by the way, as we referenced earlier, in fact, I'll tell you something that ties together this film. There are so many things in this film that could have been stupid and too kooky, and like, oh, did you just put that in there to seem special? Or you thought you were selling some stuff? No, like even that thing like you say, Monty, where they pull out the horn and it's just like Ocarina of Time rolls, like, like that's
with
dope
with the green strobe light. It's great,
and it's so like silly, but then it summons some like Hellraiser level demon. I think that's so sick. This movie just hits. It's like this movie was focus grouped for me. That's what I love about it. It's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the things that I want to talk about, just overall, the movie as well is like very, well, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so, again, I always use this word on the show. I'm trying to find an alternate, but it's the pacing. It's the way the story is always moving and it's always happening. And even when it's slow, there's things and there's details. It, like, you know, when a film like pulls you along into the next part of the story, it's engaging, it's captivating. That's what I'm looking for. And it moves at such a pace that even though you can feel the movie is getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and basically this is the roller coaster, and you are about to go over, and the go over is obviously Mandy's death and Nick Cage with the vodka hulking up. These are the pivotal moments. At no point do you feel that the movie hasn't respected your time.
I actually just looked it up. It's 2 hours.
2 hours.
I wasn't even aware that.
I bet you were thinking it was it. I bet you were thinking it was like 1 hour 20 or something.
Never looked at the running time. Never felt long.
Yeah, it is a 2 hour movie that feels like it is a 30-minute TV show episode. It is so quick and just pulls you along, and it's so compelling. It's like, it's actually crazy that a movie like this, which is so experiential in terms of what it's doing to you, with just an assault on the senses. You know, I watched it in the fucking dark on the big cinema setup with the fucking surround sound and the fucking subwoofer, bro, like you fucking red just beaming out
it's just
face.
the sound.
Yeah, the fucking the demon voice. She's still
By the way,
burning.
we already referenced this in a past episode, but obviously Monty said it joking, like, don't do this. He took edibles before watching this. I can tell you, if you've enjoyed this arc and you enjoyed Enter the Void and you want to take the Thorin PhD course, do take edibles and watch this movie. This is a pretty intense. Again, like Richard says, curtains closed, phone off the hook, cinema system set up, nobody interrupting you, lean back and just take the edible, and I'll see you at the other side. You might end up like the guy from Altered States, we'll see.
My wife was away, and so I was literally just sitting in my home alone in the dark, and I was like, oh, time for a nice night of films.
Probably crying like a bitch when the fucking Mandy died, where you wanted to call Susie.
Oh, you know what? I nearly forgot to mention it, bro. Do you want to know what else is great in this movie? Right? When after she's died, he comes back and there's that fucking commercial for the Cheddar Goblin.
It's so funny.
Oh yes, yes. I even forgot that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Cheddar Goblin.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than cheddar. Cheddar Goblin.
Again, if you don't watch the film, by the way, I've got no respect for you if you don't watch this movie.
No,
so just watch this movie, right? Like, this is one you have to watch the movie to really appreciate why we love this movie. But anyway,
because this is, by the way, it is just some straight too many cook shit, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah,
That Cheddar Goblin.
exactly,
It's so good.
exactly.
It's so good.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's so basically it's a goblin that like pops out of fucking it's like pre-made cheese for kids.
It's boxed macaroni and cheese, and he's just vomiting it on this kid. It's so funny.
It's like it's obviously I don't even know why it's in this film.
No, I know what you mean. It's so 80s the way it's thrown up.
It was so 80s though. So
I do know why it's in this film. It's because, right, imagine having the worst thing in your life happen to you. You are having it is literally rock bottom, right? It is rock bottom. True. And then you come in, the TV is still on. And the first thing you see, it's not something poignant.
No, I know what you mean.
It is the brash commercial for fake mac and cheese, the Cheddar
By the way,
Goblin.
I know exactly what you mean, Richard, because I once had an experience like that where I was going through a really dark, emotional time where I'd broken up with someone. And I did that thing where you're just feeling depressed and you sit around the house. And I was just watching like daytime TV. And the problem is, Richard, just watching stuff like the equivalent of like fucking Jerry Springer show, you become so nihilistic. It is just like, actually, fuck the whole world.
I think
that's how I would feel if I saw this commercial.
I think anyone that has like genuinely gone through like a tragedy or are in very, very tough times, what you will notice is the way that like the again, there's this weird kind of unflinching, uncaring aspect to what the universe will queue up for you in your experience, and so you will encounter something that is so tonally jarring and absurd and unfathomably comedic that it almost like as a contrast to the tragedy, it's sort of like and great art does this. Like the one I always remember is Monty won't appreciate this, not because you don't have the mind for it, but this is a very unique British TV series that Duncan and I probably grew up watching, Boys from the Black Stuff. And Boys from the Black Stuff is written by the Liverpudlian playwright Alan Bleasdale, who did loads of great stuff. And there's a character in it called Yozza Hughes, which is played by the actor who, the one who played Bernard Hill, who's in Lord of the Rings. And anyway, so he plays Yozza Hughes. Yozza Hughes is a violent, psychopathic man who is unemployable, and his wife's left him, and he's got 2 kids to feed, and it is heartbreaking. He's turning up to building sites, and his catchphrase is, "Gives a job. Have you got a job? I just need a job." And then whatever the job is, he says he can do the job, and he can't. He's got no skills. He's got no training. He is the archetypal man that was washed up and left to die by Thatcher's Britain, essentially. And he's also having very violent physical fights with the social workers that are coming to take his kids away. He's lost everything else. He's lost his identity as a man, his ability to work, his wife. He's about to lose his home. He can't lose his kids. So he's always hiding his kids and running away from the people that are trying to take them into what realistically would be a better life where they're going to be looked after. Although, if you know anything about 1980s care homes in Britain, it turns out he was doing them a favour. Anyway, he's at his lowest ebb. His lowest ebb, contemplating suicide. He keeps having this recurring dream where he just walks into the sea. And he goes to see a priest. And he's confessing to the Catholic priest. He's in the confessional booth. And he goes, "Father, I don't know what to do. I'm at my lowest wits. I need you to help me." And he goes, when was your last confession, son? He goes, I'm not religious. I've never confessed. And he goes, "In that case, consider me just a friend. Consider me someone that's here to listen to your problems and offer advice where I can." And he goes, "Thank you, Father." And the priest goes, "Don't call me Father. Call me Dan." And he goes, "The thing is, I'm desperate. I'm Desperate Dan." And Desperate Dan is a famous comic book character from the fucking, from the Dandy. And he sort of does look a bit like him with his square chin or whatever. And as he realizes, he says this fucking stupid "I'm Desperate Dan" from the comic books, he just starts headbutting in frustration the confessional booth. And that's just what life's like sometimes. You know, you're just going to get slapped in the face with something absurdly comic at the wrong time. And in this instance, it's the fucking Cheddar Goblin.
It's so funny, though.
So,
Oh, by the way, I've got a detail for you as well, Monty. I was just looking it up now. If you look up the details about, like, the soundtrack to Mandy, one of the inspirations, literally, that Cosmatos said he provided for the guy who made it, Jóhannsson, was the Queen soundtrack to Flash Gordon. Like, you can even see, like, what a fucking operatic, full-on thing. No, by the way, this film is just, we can't rate it enough. It's just a masterpiece. It's fucking, it's a dope movie.
It actually is. Like, put it this way. I'll say that about The God. It's so mental. But, you know, I say this about things like The Godfather. Yeah, it is a masterpiece. It is an actual masterpiece. It is visually stunning. It tells a fantastic story. The score is fantastic. The use of music is fantastic, both diegetically and externally. It is unbelievably well paced. It actually doesn't have a lot of dialogue. What dialogue is in the movie is exceptional, even when it should be scenery chewing cringeworthiness. It isn't. Somehow it just works because of that consistency we're talking about.
Just nails the tone.
Yeah, this is what it looks like when somebody wakes up and says, I want to make a movie and I want it to be exactly this way in every aspect. And this is a vision brought to life by somebody that clearly has a lot of fantastic ideas and is, in my opinion, unlocking what can be done with the medium of film. It's just brilliant. It really is. It should be throwaway genre horror slop, but it absolutely is not. It is probably, for me, it like, I'm gonna look at a list just real quick, but it probably is my film of 2018. I'm gonna just have a little look.
Well, also, I mean,
put it this way, I'm with you. If anyone said, 21st century films, this is easily making my list.
Oh, yes, it's fantastic. And what's interesting is it didn't make any money, had a very limited theatrical release.
1.6 million at the box office.
But it only released in 250 theaters. So
I tell you what, though, I'll make a prediction. In like 20 years, this will be a crazy cult classic, though.
Oh, I'm sure it already is.
Yeah, I mean, so there you go, right? So if I was to pick my best films of 2018 was a fucking actual dog shit year. If you wanna look, let me just tell you about the slop that made money in 2018. There was The Avengers: Infinity War, of course, Black Panther, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, Incredibles 2, Aquaman. These are the top 5 box office grossing films. That dreadful Bohemian Rhapsody, Venom is number 7, Mission Impossible: Fallout, Deadpool 2, Fantastic Beast, The Crimes of Grindelwald. What an awful year for fucking movies, right? If you just look at that. But let me tell you about all the sick fucking hipster indie films that came out. Mandy, absolute banger. Based on what I'm saying, my film of 2018, unironically. Under the Silver Lake, super slept on.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
There's a good example of a flawed gem that kind of people maybe missed.
Possum, if anyone's seen that, it's the allegory for child abuse, about the guy that carries the puppet around.
I've heard about that one. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah, it's written by the guy that plays Garth Marenghi. I think he might have directed it too.
I just looked it up. So, like Mandy, Under the Silver Lake, also in the sweet spot of a 6.5.
We'll probably watch that at some point in the future, no doubt.
Yeah, we will.
Right,
for sure.
And so three more fantastic movies that came out in 2018. Nobody saw it, and nobody paid at the box office. Ballad of Buster Scruggs, that obviously Coen Brothers, that went to Netflix. But better than that, The House That Jack Built is
I still haven't seen that, but I've been meaning to watch that.
That's a banger, man.
Right,
if you like Lars von Trier, it's a must-watch.
Must-watch for Lars von Trier. And then one of my all-time favourite movies from the last 10 years, it's by S. Craig Zahler, who's like another super interesting filmmaker. He's about to make his 4th movie. When he does, we're doing an arc on him because he's the director of Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across Concrete. That came out in 2018 with Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn as corrupt cops. Fucking brilliant. It's got Michael Jai White in it.
So wild, by the way. What a fucking crazy idea for a movie.
So put it this way, 2018 it was normie slop. Do you know Dragged Across Concrete? Right, it had a budget of 15 million. By the way, this movie is mega. I guarantee if you stay up all night watching YouTube and TikTok shorts or whatever you're doing to get to sleep, you've probably seen the entire movie out of sequence because it's about that guy who dresses up like the Gimp and he fucking room, breaks. He's getting money for some reason. He's breaking into everywhere and just gunning people down. And these corrupt cops are going to rob him, essentially. It's fucking mega. Anyway, budget of 15 million, made 650,000 at the box office. So 2018 was the year of slop, but there were gold in them there hills. Mandy is the gold fucking standard of the 2018 indie movie. But those movies I've all just said, if you're getting a little bit jaded about like, oh, Marvel's everywhere and all of this, and you don't think there's been good movies made in recent years, it's wrong. It's just nobody knows where to find them. They're not being well promoted. All of those movies will tickle your pickle. They are fucking all absolute bangers. And as I said, I think Mandy might be the best of the bunch. High praise indeed.
Well, there you go. That'll conclude our
just before you
horror.
conclude, I want to just get Duncan's final thoughts on this movie.
All right.
One of the things that I'm so glad about is sometimes when you recommend movies that you think people are going to like, you kind of get it wrong or they don't like it as much. But like, I just want to hear you one time just wax lyrical about Mandy, where you would rate it, where you would put it.
No, by the way, I would say, like, this is a film where it was actually one of those ones where I was scared to rewatch it because the first time I actually had this experience, I told you not that long ago with Nosferatu. The first experience was so good, it actually makes me worried to do the rewatch because I don't want to rewatch it too soon. I've got it all fresh in my mind. You want to like forget a little bit, and allow yourself to get the suspension of disbelief. And then secondly, you don't want to rewatch it and go, oh, it's actually not as good as I thought. I think this movie is actually a great example of one where even though Nosferatu didn't live up to my first viewing, this one might even be better. I actually think this is a fucking mega film. Like I said, I do think it's one of those ones where I've learned from doing this show that actually, unfortunately, a lot of movie reviewers are hacks and they just hit the same macros and same cliched phrases over and over again. But it is like a fucking experience, this film, isn't it? It's not really, like, I don't even engage with it really as a story or as like an acting performance. I'm only thinking about these things after the film. When I'm watching it, I'm with you, Richard. It's 2 hours that go by and I'm never like doing that thing with the voice inside of it. What they're trying to allude to here is this. Like, no, I did that when I was trying to review it for this film, but like this show. But I find it mega immersive, this film. And like I say, I would actually say the best way to describe the visual audio experience with everything, the sound, the music, is it's so intense. This film is so intense. That's why I joke with Monty, like, that you don't need edibles to watch this film. It's already like being on an edible watching this film. It's so full-on brutal. But I also do agree. I actually think some of the elements, a lot of what's done in this film would be done by someone who was like an art student making a film. Oh, I'll tie colours. Sure. But they would do that in such a hacky, half-assed way. He just nails it over and over again. The guy who's doing this film, like I say, he's only done 2 films, but he already feels like he's going to be some fucking insane Kubrickian auteur. Like, this guy surely has the world as his oyster if he sticks with this visual mentality.
And
I think
someone as well that clearly, loves even movies you wouldn't think about.
No doubt. Yeah.
There's so many references to like stuff that it's not high art.
No. By the way, funny you referenced this on the past episode, but actually for me, he's doing the Tarantino thing.
Yes,
I've always thought the real sign of a brilliant artist is this, Monty. It's where they tell you their references and influences. You go, fuck, well, I love your shit, and you go look at their influences, and you're like, I wouldn't even be into this. What the fuck is this? Like, like some musician where they're into like some fucking guy playing like an old acoustic guitar from the 1950s. You're like, but you're like a rock musician. Yeah. But then what you realise is that's their genius. They're able to sort of alchemically take what to me is trash and find some brilliant spark in it that then inspires them to make something incredible. I know what you mean, Richard, because I feel like this guy for real just grew up playing D&D and liking classic like Conan the Barbarian, but he's taken all of that, which could, by the way, be like Stranger Things, a bit hacky, a bit silly, and just like, oh, look at this monster.
Never understood the popularity of that show,
he's made something, by the way, the idea that's popular but not this is everything wrong with our fucking society. This should be right up your alley, you idiots. But I think this film is fucking godlike, mate. Yeah, again, like I said, Richard, don't worry, I've done my best to also proselytize so many people to watch this film. That's why I'm glad we have this series where we can just force people to do it.
Yeah, exactly. now you're. I'll just add finally, and then I'll let Monty wrap up the show. But also as well, like Tarantino, it's a very good pull. He references obviously movies he must have loved. You would assume so. There are so many references to like horror films in this as well, like the Hellraiser Cenobites and obviously obviously Crystal Lake, but also there hasn't been a chainsaw duel since Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the comedy sequel Toby Hooper directed to obviously Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think has, that's the one with Dennis Hopper in it, right? So that's a film. But so, you know, if you're referencing that in your fucking art movie, you're good people. You're my kind of person. I fuck with you. Esquire magazine, by the way, said this was the movie of 2018.
Oh, fair enough.
So I'm telling you guys, it's fucking good. If you've come in, haven't watched it, you've listened to this. If you don't watch it now, you're mental. Like it is.
Luckily, it is one of those movies as well, though, where like the spoilers don't matter for this one. The experience isn't
it's
like
the experience.
knowing what happens.
Yeah,
just get into it. You're gonna enjoy it anyway.
I knew what it was when I went to see it.
Right.
You know, I knew she died. Obviously.
Right.
You know.
So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put a Mandy quiz as the gate on all our future content. And if you can't answer the questions about the Mandy quiz, you can't watch future episodes.
Nah, I think that's fair. We you know, listen, people are always like, oh, is there a way we can support the podcast more? Well, listen, motherfucker, you can watch Mandy. You can start there.
Also, even
rules.
though I'll tell you another example also, just to wrap, of why this movie is brilliant. It's like I said earlier, you could just have it be a revenge flick where they just shank this fucker and kill it, but somehow going like this pale blade of the that
so
makes
ridiculous.
that's why it is metal. It makes it dope. It just makes it really sick.
And also,
it's
here's
like
the
video
green
game
seizure
backstory.
lights.
Yes. I will say this. I apologize to anyone that came into this arc with photosensitive epilepsy.
Oh, your fault.
Yeah, you can't watch any of these films, I don't think so, and certainly not this one.
No.
I'll definitely put that warning in there. Should have put it at the start of the episode. Maybe they'll make it the bit before the probably a good idea. But yeah, but anyway, like fuck that. Put it this way, I love this movie so much. If I did have photosensitive epilepsy, I'd risk it. Don't do that at home. That's terrible.
Richard's not a doctor. All right, guys.
I'm definitely not a doctor.
That'll do it for our psychedelic horror arc. Thanks for watching. Even though many of you don't, for some reason, watch the actual films. We will be back next week with the start of our Nicolas Cage arc with The Rock.
All roads have led to this.